11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live each weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. Typically on Fridays, we focus on the industry or on tech, and in this case, we get to focus on both. We're going to be talking to Jeff from GearReportcom. So it's gear, like the sprocket, like a gear or like a piece of kit, gear-report.com. But if you type Gear Report at this point, I'm sure it'll come up, and it's a website they'll tell us about. We've got Clover joining us, who's en route to SHOT Show. We were chatting earlier in a SHOT Show history chat. Actually, we all started this conversation kind of earlier this week with Ghost Tactical had a show, and Jeff and I kind of started a conversation, and that turned into a chat that we had earlier today, and we talked about the evolution and the history of SHOT Show, the industry trade show for the firearms industry. And now we're going to go live on the Daily Gun Show and talk about GearReport.com, which is Jeff's project. And I'll just let Clover say thanks for jumping in. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. And
of course, if you want to add anything, feel free. I like to do these shows, though, with the guests and with the audience. So this is interactive. So if you have something you'd like to ask or a question or something, feel free to leave it in the comments. We're broadcasting this over on gunchannels.com, community we built 5 years ago now. And of course, on YouTube. This will go live, or this will go over onto gunstreamer.com, a Pro 2A gun hosting platform when it's all over, and then as a podcast up onto the iTunes and stuff. So this is interactive now while you're live. Ask Jeff a question, or Clover or myself, or if you're listening to this in the future, we have the power of the comments and the links and the shares, and so you can keep a conversation going from the things we might have talked about tonight all over the web. So remember that, and I will turn the mic over to Jeff from Gear Report. Jeff, we do a quick format for this show. We first like to talk about who you are and what you do, and then we talk about why you're doing it, and then we end it with some how to inspire people to get off their butts and do stuff as well. So with that said, we'll take as long or as little time as you've got tonight. I know we've been chatting for a while, so I appreciate your patience and your graciousness with your time. And who's Jeff and what is Gear Report?
Oh, those are deep questions. Certainly. Thank you. And I appreciate you having me on. I think that you kind of hit it on the head that organically out of some earlier discussions, we just keep finding new things to talk about. And I'm excited that you have been, kind of excited about the things we're talking about, because Gear Report is really cryptic. Gear Report, we report on gear, and the idea with Gear Report is we want to help people figure out what kind of things would be a good fit for them from a product standpoint, product or service even potentially. Gear tends to be more of a physical product, but we want to help them figure out what's going to be good for them and what things they may not be happy with, so that they have a good purchase experience, so that they are happy with what they decide. So we want to help them, not help them figure out how to buy a specific product. If they come to look at a review for a specific product, I'm not trying to get them to buy that product, and none of our writers are. We're trying to help them figure out, okay, here's what that product's good for and what it might not be so good for, so then they can figure out for themselves, oh yeah, that fits what I'm looking for, I think it's going to be good, or based on what they said, I'm not sure that's going to be the right one for me. And then we give them some other options that, if this isn't the best product for you, maybe these others would be something to consider depending on how you're going to use it. So that's kind of the approach that we take. And Gear Report actually The very first iteration of it was called Jeff's Kayak Reviews. That's where we started, was with kayaks. And I changed that to Gear Report because I wanted to open it up so it wasn't just, single focus on one product type, which is good because a couple years later I blew out my shoulders, and 3 shoulder surgeries later, I don't do a lot of kayaking. So Jeff's Kayak Reviews would have died on the vine a few years ago. But Gear Report gives us the breadth to be able to cover, today we have writers who are covering camping gear with a lot of focus on backpacking and hammock camping. We have writers focusing on various aspects of the firearms market. And we also got a fair number of writers who are into military vehicles and we got a lot of Humvees among the team. We have some LMTVs, some Deuce and a Halves. I mean, a lot of different military vehicles. So we cover those 3 different areas. And the neat thing about how we've built Gear Report is as we run across writers who work in different content areas, we have the ability to kind of flip a switch, add a category. And I talked to a writer earlier today who he's been writing for 20 or 30 years, and he wants to bring some fishing content. I don't fish. I never would have brought that to Gear Report because it's just not what I do. But there's an audience for it. We're going to give them a platform to share some of that content. So that's kind of what we're about.
That's cool. And well, just FYI, fishing and hunting are good. They go good together because the seasons mesh.
Yeah.
When one starts, the other ends, and vice versa. You might hear as you describe that, or somebody might hear that as I don't know if from our last discussion, the way you described it to me, or from the description that I got over the discussion that we had. There's more to it than just having a blog, because there's more to it than just talking about gear, because there's plenty of sites out there. I've been doing some work on a project where I've been looking into backpacking and stuff where I haven't bought a backpack in a while, so I've been paying attention to some of the sites out there, and so often it's like, yeah, here's some backpacks, and then it's prices, and then it's maybe the weights and stuff and shipping costs, but it's just straight to catalog. It's basically a catalog, and maybe there's a little bit of description, but very little, and then you get some various levels, everything from blatant advertising to just craziness or obscurity when you're just going onto a platform and typing in canoeing or rifles, right? We see that you have to kind of discriminate yourself to get down to a creator, or find somebody who's creating content that that, like you say, is adding value to your decision to buy something, or your ability to use something that you already bought, the actual use of it in that. So I think that when you talk about having the guide, you're also putting a level of sophistication to your articles so that people who browse them know what to expect there. They got like a level of quality. I don't know what the word would be for completeness.
Yeah, and we're trying to set ourselves apart at Gear Report. And we got a dozen writers that contribute fairly regularly, and several more that on occasion will. And it's part of the nature of the beast when I built the Gear Report team. Initially, everyone had at least a bachelor's degree, and then more than half of the team had master's degrees, and most of the people are, reasonably high earners. So that made a nice package to present to brands when we want to review gear, to say, we are targeting a more sophisticated customer that has a higher income and more disposable income. Therefore, justification for sending more higher end products. And, we're catering towards people who are looking for a more sophisticated purchase with, not just, I saw Bubba blow something up with it in a YouTube video, but more of a, I'm going to go hunt this type of game in these conditions at this range. What do I need for that? And our articles are written to help people figure out, is this the right thing to use for that, or should you use something else?
Yeah. So if I'm looking, like, to clarify, what I think what I was trying to say before too is that when you search for, let's say, binoculars, or I want to use binoculars for hunting, you'll get a binocular website that sells them, or something that's trying to sell them, move them, and it'll say, these are the binoculars used for hunting. Well, that's not a review. It doesn't tell you anything about them. Or maybe you go to like a brand's area and they'll have like a blog or something, but guess what? Every recommendation is to buy their brand of binoculars or whatever. So you kind of have to wonder whether or not it's, what its value is. So having people that do what they're doing, that's something that I think is neat, to have it all in one spot where
yeah. So another thing that you and I had talked about quite a bit that I think is maybe not what I had in mind when I designed it, but when I realized that the opportunity was there, things got really exciting. So Gear Report started as me leaving the pharmaceutical industry and joining a marketing agency that helped brands develop affiliate programs. This was about a decade ago. And when I did that, I didn't really have any experience with affiliate programs, but that's, I was tasked with helping brands to make affiliate programs, so I had to learn more about it. I created a little website where I could post some things and put some affiliate links in it. It was a sandbox. It was never meant to be anything, quote, real, It was just something for me to learn to do my job better. And it was like that for about 6 years. And then at some point, some friends got involved, and it actually came about because a friend was a deer hunter, and another had done some hunting. I'd never really done that kind of hunting, so they said, let's go do some hunting. And well, guys, I got this outdoor gear review website. Why don't you guys come help me with it? And we'll write some reviews of the different gear that we use for that. And so now instead of one person, it was 3 people. And it went that way for a couple years. And about 1.5 years ago or so, I really started opening it up to a larger pool of writers. And it's been phenomenal because we've had this kind of synergistic effect of, as we get more writers, it means we have more capacity to review products. So we're able to help more brands. That's good. But it also meant that, I only have so much time and ability to, I'm only knowledgeable in so many areas. I can only cover so much. And 2 or 3 of us can only cover so much. But, we got a dozen fairly active writers and a few more that write sometimes. That means that we have a much larger pool of knowledge and experience, so we can do a good job covering a much broader set of products. So now, instead of just doing the firearms for hunting or kayaks like I did when I started, we have a camping editor who runs the camping content on the site. We have a few different firearms editors and some firearms writers under there. And, one of them's a firearms editor, another's a hunting editor. So we have a little bit of specialization, which means, they can develop a little bit of additional expertise, which brings value to the reader because, they have some specialization. And then right now I'm kind of running our military vehicles content area. But we're open to additional content, and we'll be adding some over time. So the synergistic part of that, there are a couple things. Number one, from a technology standpoint, we have one platform that can handle all these different content areas. If you want to write something, anyone, G, or anyone who's listening or listens to this later, if you want to be a writer, if you want to do videos, there may be a place for you at Gear Report to share some of that without having to go create your own site or go to something like a YouTube that is openly disapproving, kind of aggressive towards people who like, Second Amendment related activities, and is very dictatorial. While I am kind of a control freak and really look for a certain level of writing or editing or presentation, Gear Report is not a place for entertainers to put content up. The internet's full of people doing silly things for entertainment. Bubba blowing shit up isn't really what we're about at Gear Report. If we're doing gun reviews, we're going to get into the details of, what some design considerations and, does it fit weaker people, stronger people, people with big hands, right-handed people, left-handed people. What's the trigger pull weight? What's the manual of arms? How does it compare to other things? What are the appropriate uses for it? I mean, we're looking to get into all those details. So, if anyone wants to produce some good quality, detailed content, hey, let me know. We'll take a look at giving you a chance to share some of that on the platform. And the synergy comes in that you're not having to develop the platform; it's already there. But then also more content on the platform, on the site at Gear Report means that we have more traffic. More traffic raises our profile within the search engines, which means they're going to send more stuff to us, and then everyone benefits. We have hundreds of articles out there already. The more content we bring, the more traffic we bring, the more the search engines show Gear Report to additional people in search results, which means even more come, and everyone benefits then.
Man, it's really hard for me to bite my tongue. You're living a parallel path that I'm over here in Arizona, and you're over there in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a very similar thing. We started gun websites. We call it gun websites because we started sharing our experiences out here with our friends where we all come from back on the other side of the Mississippi in different places. So things that we can do out here with the long ranges and the lakes, it's just different kind of fishing and stuff. We put up websites back in the day just to share some pictures, and then that evolved over time. And obviously the internet had to evolve from back those days. But then as you post content and you put it up there, and then there's an audience that actually has a method to feedback, that becomes a whole different thing. Now you're a creator. Now you're not just somebody posting pictures or whatever. Now you're putting stuff out there with an audience interaction, and now there's I don't have to mansplain that to everybody who's watching this or listening. Everybody knows how that much is added to what we're doing out here. So what I've always thought was interesting is that passion, that fun that developed. I didn't seek out. I didn't sit there in 1997 and go, you know what, in 2019, XYZ is going to happen, and this is where I'll be sitting, because I probably would have done it a little different, right? I'd have more money if nothing else, right? But this all happened because I like to play around on the internet and have fun, and then that turned into, well, I'm putting some pictures out here, which I like to do, and I put them on the internet, which I like to do, and all of a sudden there's this audience that showed up, and now it's interesting to have this interaction with the audience. Now, we were able to do that on a similar path to what you've done, but then we had our own thing. This isn't about us, but I can understand the where this comes from, and like I say, this is the reason why I won't shut up. I found it hard to bite my tongue, but let me, without going off at too many tangents, hopefully we'll have you back on and we can talk more in depth about that kind of stuff. But when you describe it, it sounds like what you're efforting to do is something more similar to a Consumer Reports magazine from back in the day versus like a Thrasher magazine, where the Thrasher magazine is going to do something cool or radical or hip, and then here's how you can buy the t-shirt that guy was wearing, or here's how you can buy the roller skate wheels that you saw in that picture, where Consumer Reports is like, I don't care if you buy this or not. Here's how this one works. Here's how that other one works. And here's how this one works. If you appreciate it, subscribe to our magazine. So basically there's a transaction there. I'm going to provide effort, and then if you appreciate it, XYZ. But it's not some sort of, let's get you doing this, that you do that. But that, as a consumer, as somebody, not a consumer, just somebody who's interested in paying attention out there, do you want to just read Thrasher magazine all the time? Like, I think that it's neat that you've got an option out there that people can.
I mean, I did when I was 13. Yeah,
exactly. But now when I want to buy this backpack and it costs $400, I really want to know about the $700 one and the $300 one, even though I'm not buying them. And you've collected a bunch of people who have, and that's why I talked about that, understanding that passion for creating content with an audience. It's one thing to like to take pictures. It's another thing to like to go out and do stuff and take pictures of it. And then there's another thing that gets you to put it on the internet. And some people just leave it there. And then there's this other level where you get to communicate and get feedback and be participating in a community like you're doing. And obviously we're mansplaining that to the gun channels people, but that's just awesome that you've created this thing that the product is a bunch of valid, like, insightful stories or, reviews, I guess, of the stuff that people have done or have worked with. And then the result is that you've got a massive archive of stuff that's, again, kind of, I don't know if I'm using the right analogy there with Consumer Reports, if all the millennials know what that means, but
Yeah. It's what their parents look at when they want to buy something.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is bad. I need to publish something. I just, it got me wondering how many articles have been published on Gear Report. You want to guess the evil number of articles that have been published as of the 2 that I published an hour or 2 ago?
3006.
No. 666 articles. So clearly we need to publish something so that
my first reaction would be delete all the Ghost Tactical stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's the link that we talked on Ghost Chat before, but he's also an editor, or he's a writer for you.
right. Yeah. So I call them writers, content creators, and he's neat. And that's one of the neat things about Gear Report is primarily a written review website looking for more detailed. And I think I said in the thing on Tuesday, more professional. I didn't mean compared to anyone else that was on that call, on that discussion, but more of a compared to, like, when we're walking around SHOT Show and one of my guys walks up to a gun manufacturer and says, "Hey, I'm interested in reviewing your product," the people they're comparing us to, which in many cases are people who said, "You know what, I want to have a YouTube channel." And I know some that are maybe bigger than Gear Report, that if you go look at their LinkedIn profile, their professional profile, they say they're entertainers. They're a YouTube entertainer. And while we have a YouTube channel, I am not an entertainer. I try to be entertaining enough, but my job isn't to be entertaining. It's to give good, solid, valid information, help people figure out what they want to buy and what they don't want to buy. But then the additional opportunities, so that's great. From a consumer standpoint, we have done, I think, a pretty good job at Gear Report of developing trust by being honest and, saying, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, here's some other options if this doesn't work for you. And that's great for the consumers. We're developing a following in all of our content areas, which is kind of amazing to me. It's neat when you visualize something and then it actually starts to happen. It's like, wow, I was right, my wife was wrong. That never happens, right? But
You said it twice now in conversation.
Yeah. So, well, she doesn't listen to this stuff, so I'm okay. The really cool additional thing is that we've also kind of built it on a monetization platform that recognizes that there is really significant work that goes into producing good, high quality content. Anyone can turn on their smartphone and live stream something with no planning, and there's not a big investment there. But if you really want to produce good quality content, it generally is going to take a lot more effort, a lot more time, and probably some hard investments in equipment as well. So, if we want people to continue to do that high quality production of content, then we need to have a way for them to monetize that content, for them to earn something to at least cover the cost. I mean, it'd be great if people could actually make money producing that content as well, and some people do. And that's what we've been building at Gear Report, because we've built on an affiliate program monetization model. And what that allows us to do is, if we have a review about a specific product, we just posted some reviews for some 6 Sauer products. So that, let's say the X5 pistol, it's the P320 X5. Awesome pistol, I really like it. Not right for every situation, not right for every person. And we go into that in the review a bit. But if you read that review, the goal of that review isn't to get you to buy a P320X5. It's help you figure out if it's the right fit for you or not, and give some other opportunities as well. But for Toby, who produced that review, he's got video equipment. He has ammo that was burned in producing that review. He has targets that he shot at, at his range. I mean, there are a lot of expenses that go into that in addition to the time involved. There's opportunity costs whenever you burn time on anything. So, he has a means as a content creator to sign up for affiliate programs that are appropriate for his content and include some of those links in his content, which means, I don't even have to be the middleman at Gear Report. If someone clicks on a link from one of his reviews and makes a purchase, he gets a small commission off of that. And it doesn't come through Gear Report. It goes directly to him. So I'm really trying to empower the writers and the content creators and give them a way to have some revenue sharing and have it directly. So it's not dependent. It's not like YouTube where, if I put a video up, it's up to them to decide if they want to pay me, and if so, how much. Well, at Gear Report, it's his links that are in there. So I may have a few in it as well if I do the editing, or, the firearms editor who goes through and proofreads it may put a link or two in there. But those all go straight back to those individuals, and it's not something I can throttle and say, I don't like what you said, I'm going to shut your monetization off. I'm really trying to give people a platform where I've already done the heavy lifting of building it, and we have a big pool of content that already brings some people in, and give them a place where they can put good, high quality content. And if it resonates with people and they click the affiliate links and buy things, then, they can stand to get some revenue to support what they're doing.
And I think that, again, that's a really cool thing. And I think that's really the direction. Clover and I had done a off-air chat, which we need to do as an on-air chat, and you're welcome to join us for that, of course. And we were just looking at using the Google Trends tool and looking at some general trends. And of course, it's subjective or whatever. It's just an indication of potentially what things might be. But, overall, it gives us some idea that the YouTube and the Facebook, while they were certainly super popular for a while, are both on the decline. I don't know, I guess it's debatable or not, but I don't think that there's any reason to believe that they're going to exist forever. And I think it's a evolution of intertwined influences from our development as just a society and being able to keep up with whatever the new thing is, and then getting sick of the new thing, and then realizing that there's always going to be a new thing. So then we get used to the constant change of the new thing, and then we're just comfortable with it and we move on. It's going to be the same with all these little hurdles that we see. Hopefully, one of the reasons we're doing this on the gun channel and delving into this is so that we can do the same with our Second Amendment perception in society. But until then, the way to hone those skills for that objective would be, to be aware of all these different things. The cell phones, the growth of the internet, the speed of internet connections allows us to build better things online. The internet's more interesting, more people have a reason to get here. Commerce is faster, safer. There's more stuff to consume and deal with. So monetization stuff changes all the time. What you're providing there is awesome. I think it's the future, honestly. I mean, I'm not trying to fluff you up. I don't get paid nothing, but I do think it's the future. I've efforted in directions in that same direction because of that. Let me think about somebody who's trying to create content. So you're either creating content because you truly enjoy it, or you're creating content for some reason. We're capitalists. You're allowed to try to make money, or try to get popular, or I don't know, try to get women, right? You can do whatever you want to create content. But where are you going to do that? You're going to just do that in the middle of nowhere in the internet? I encourage you to do so, because I think that's valuable to have your own presence online. But obviously, if you just do it out in the middle of nowhere only, you won't be very effective. So you can go to some platforms, and you can use those platforms like desperately holding on like a life raft, or you can get Jackie Chan on them and just use those platforms and skim across them and get to a place that's useful, like Gear Review. And I'm not, like I say, or Gear Report, excuse me. I don't want to mess up. Gear-report.com. I have too many gear reviews of my own. Sorry about that. That's
No
that's
worries.
Gear Report, though, is that what you're offering there is a place that a person who's creating content can put content down, not on a YouTube platform. Oh, there's so many views. Who cares? When you put down something that says backpack review, anybody in the world who wants to look at that has to do the filtering. Even though Google can put down a bunch of ideas, if you really want to find a valid Consumer Reports like useful review, and maybe that is entertainment. I was talking, I think I said off air, my friend of mine, he relishes those things. He eats them up, right? He can't stand, or he can't get enough of these like nerdy reviews of like backpacks and stuff.
Right.
It's just the way that he's entertained. So anyway, when you're putting your stuff down in that platform, you're in with, like you guys have just you talked about, you're sharing audience and reach with others who, have audiences that value that. So you're creating a place for that, and Google's not going to do that. They got no incentive to do that. These places like this that exist on the internet or will exist on the internet due to people like you putting effort into it, create places for areas of interest or, for us, Second Amendment advocacy, right, for awareness and a place for people to collaborate. I think it's awesome. So I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Shut up here. But like I say, we're just on the same track here. So I'm glad we're having this discussion. But I don't know, unless Clover has something else to jump in here with. I'm sure he's in a similar place trying to hold his tongue. We would transition into why you continue to do it. Sometimes as creators, we can get discouraged or wondering why, or you see somebody else just dropping money everywhere because they're spending just stupid money on stupid shit. And I'm not doing, I shouldn't be doing that if you're going to use this as an interview, but that's my bad. It's not no reflection on Jeff. But there's people out there that are doing stuff crazy. You can get kind of discouraged or questioning, the motivations. So the whys, you've been doing this for a while now. I don't know, again, I'm putting you on the spot, but that's sort of the point.
Well, but seriously, the hardest part, I've been at this for 10 years, and like I said, 6 of them weren't all that intense and serious. It was a sandbox for me to play in to learn. And I took it seriously at times, and then I get bored and moved on for a while. But then the last 4.5 years, it's been, I'm going to run it like a business, and it is. I mean, this is a division of Crest Sales and Marketing LLC. That's marketing consultancy that I own. And actually, Gear Report's getting big enough. I'm going to have to spin it off to be its own corporation here soon, I think. Um, but the goal initially was as a learning platform, and then it became kind of interesting. And I'm always looking for a new challenge. So why do I continue? Part of it is just to prove to myself and my better half maybe as well that I can make this work. And that got me to this point. But probably about 9 months ago, or a little bit after SHOT Show last year, I started opening up to people who already had an established identity for producing content. So prior to that point, if you already had your own channel, whether it was a website or a YouTube channel or you did podcast or whatever, I'd be happy to talk to you and we could do some co-promotion, but no need for you to be a part of Gear Report. You already have your own channel, right? And then it occurred to me, we're all struggling with a lot of the same things. Why does everyone need to do that struggle? I've already solved a lot of those things and built the website. I can allow some other people to share their content on my site at Gear Report, and they get the benefit of exposure to an additional audience and not having to deal with all the minutia in the background. And then I get the benefit of having additional content and some additional traffic, and everyone wins. So I'm a big fan of the everyone wins concept of business. If everyone's going to benefit, let's do it. If everyone's not going to benefit, then we probably don't need to do it. That's the approach I take. So as I figured out about a year ago, had the idea, maybe I will let a few other people come in and post. And you mentioned Ghost. Ghost has been great because what I offered him isn't actually what he chose to do, and he's still welcome to do what I offered. And Clover, I know we had talked about it at some point. You're welcome to do this at some point if you like as well. And the initial offer was, hey, you've already got a good body of content out there. You're doing reviews, you're posting videos, you're posting them in other places. I'll give you a template where you can just, create a new article on Gear Report, make a little 1 or 2 sentence introduction, put your article, you can put some affiliate links if you mention any products after that. Hit save when you're done. You've created a new article on Gear Report where you're getting exposure to an additional audience. And Ghost and Kelly at Armed and Feminine, same offer. Both of them, instead of doing that, have chosen instead to do what the other Gear Report authors do and come in and do some written articles, different than what they normally do. So I'm happy that I'm providing a different outlet for them to produce different types of content. Happy if they want to embed videos and share the content they've already created. Across the board, I mean, the more content people post, the more money I can make, the more money they can make. Everyone wins, and that makes me happy. So, and I get to rambling, so I apologize.
No, that's kind of the point. I started doing this a couple of interviews back, this format. I got it from James Kalita. And do you follow the James Kalita podcast by any chance? Out of Order podcast?
Well, it's kind of the downside, and I get questions like that a lot when we go to events. People make a reference of, oh, well, do you watch so-and-so, or did you see the video someone posted, or did you hear this thing, or did you read that article? And I'll be completely honest with you. I got a day job, helping brands with affiliate programs, and then nights and weekends when I'm not working as a leader for my son's scout troop, or hauling kids to swim practices and swim meets, or doing stuff around the house. When I get free time, I don't spend it consuming other people's media, which is maybe a little bizarre, but also, and that was a conscious decision as a product reviewer as well, is I don't want other people's opinions and presentation of reviews to influence mine. So, like, when I knew I had some stuff coming from SIG, I intentionally made sure that I didn't go read reviews on the X5 pistol or the Virtus pistol or on the Rattler or on their 7.62 can or on SIG ammo, any of the things that were coming, variety of SIG optics. I've avoided all content in those areas because I don't want to contaminate myself. With the idea that I'd go out and do those reviews. Unfortunately, I've been too busy with the day-to-day minutia of running a website and managing a team of writers and editors, and a good flow of products coming in for people to review, that I haven't even been able to do many of those reviews myself. All the SIG stuff, I was so excited. Spent years working to get SIG to be willing to say, yes, we'll send you some cool stuff to review. And then when it came in, I sat on it for a month or 3. I was like, you know what? I just do not see a break in my schedule to do justice to these reviews, and ended up putting them in Toby's hands. And he gave him more of a workout than I would have, just based on the time I had available. So it was a good decision, but it was a little bit painful. That's, as far as why do I keep doing it? I keep doing it because, I don't want to sound like I'm apologizing when I say that because it's making me money, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and profit is a legitimate motive in our society, and it is a motive for Gear Report. So that's part of it, but part of it is it's fun getting to play with all the stuff, but also I think that the part that surprised me the most of this whole journey with Gear Report is the satisfaction that I get when I see my writers and editors get some recognition and have success. And I'll tell you what, I about fell out of my chair. I felt like a proud papa when our hunting editor, Caleb, got invited to he got invited to a product launch from Palmetto State Armory, and they flew him out to Wyoming to the High Bar Ranch, and they had a video that they put out after that. The brand did, and they reference, hey, we've got some firearms industry experts here, and what do you think of these products that you've just tried? And they kept coming back to Caleb over and over. There were some more established writers at that event from bigger publications that didn't even get mentioned in the video. They kept coming back to Caleb, and I'll tell you, it made me so happy to see, someone that I had recruited and trained and kind of nurtured and brought up into this industry, having success and recognition like that. So that's another motivation for me. I like helping people succeed. So, yeah.
That's an awesome answer. And I know I put you on the spot. You didn't even know you were going to be doing an hour-long interview show tonight. So I appreciate it. And this is again, Friday night before shot. So we've all got a million things on our mind. Clover's actually driving right now.
Yep.
I'm going to break my own rule again and blab a bunch. So just to add more insight and some insight as to why I'm so jazzed about this, not just because, we're of the same mindset. When I was younger, I worked for the government for a while in Wyoming, and I had an opportunity to experience a outdoor leadership school. National Outdoor Leadership had a wilderness workshop out there, and because I was there, I got to be there, and it was interesting. So it was really expensive, high-end workshop for people that were way into doing things outdoors. It was building outdoor balconies and walkways and stuff without tools. In wilderness areas, you can't bring any power tools, so a lot of dovetails and pegs, and it's really neat stuff using what you call primitive tools, two-man saws, and it's really a fun thing. Anyhow, one of the people that was there reviewing this thing was driving around in a van, because vans are awesome, and man, he got everybody, all the girls, there was a lot of girls, all the girls that were digging this guy. His job was to drive around for Outdoor Magazine. This was back in the 90s, so this was film, regular cameras with film, bunch of cameras, just he's kind of living in his van and driving around, living the life as a freelance writer for Outdoor Magazine and some others. And I was like, wow, that's neat. It's something that's, that exists or whatever. I didn't even know what it was like or whatever. But how many people could there have possibly been like that in the 90s? 100? No way. 20? I don't know, some number, right? How many people can there be like that today? Everybody with a telephone. So the First Amendment is super important. Second Amendment we all appreciate, but that First Amendment protects the Second in so many ways. And the First Amendment it's fun to participate in. It's creative and it's fulfilling because you can create content. And I think one of the things that you touched on too is you get to the point where you create content because you enjoy creating it, but then boom, you get people that are following it and they're appreciating it and they're commenting on it, and then all of a sudden there's relationships you got built there. So it's ultimately satisfying to participate in this whole thing that we have access to, and that's the end of this interview, is to talk about the hows. Now, I don't even know if we can get into that because, especially with Clover in here, again, we're all kind of like-minded. We have similar backgrounds, but we're unique enough and come from different enough histories that I imagine we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours, and I'd have to get some audience polls. Again, you guys are listening. Let us know if that's something you'd be interested in listening to. I know we want to have the conversations, but just do we want to do it live? But to take as much time, I know we're at an hour now, but you can have as much time or as little time as you want to try to address the hows. I mean, obviously you came at it with a tech background. You come at it from a writing background, which, is again similar but different than us coming from video or whatever, or pictures even. So I don't know. I'm gonna leave it open ended and kind of we can just wrap it up however, say as long or as short as you want, as far as the how you do what you do. The tech or
the how really started with just the idea of I'm a detail guy. If I want to buy something, I would go out and read every review I could find on it. I still to this day have a problem. For some purchases, even some purchases that aren't really that important, I get into this analysis paralysis thing where it's like I've got to get more information. There are some bits of information that aren't there and I can't find them, and it drives me nuts. Even if it's not incredibly consequential, there's an opening, there's a gap, there's a blank, there's something that I'm like, you know what, I need to be able to define this before I can make the decision. So I kind of taken that approach to the reviews. And I know for some people, all they care is what color is it. Doesn't even matter what we're talking about. What color is it? That's all they care. Is it going to match my outfit? Is it going to match my phone? Whatever. They'll buy it. That's not me. I need a lot more information, and I wasn't finding it elsewhere. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write the reviews that I want that have that level of detail so that, someone like me who wants the details can dig through and find the pros, the cons, the pluses, the minuses, all the different specs, but then as you develop a body of experience in whatever topical area you're working in, so in my case, I've done the water stuff with kayaks. I've done a variety of camping gear. I've done the firearms stuff. I do the military vehicle stuff. As you develop that body of knowledge, now you have comparative information you can throw into the mix as well. So you're not just giving the objective, it weighs this much, it's this long, it's whatever color, it holds this many rounds, whatever. But then you can give the comparative analysis of, and I shot this other one that's similar, that appears similar, and here are the differences I felt, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I'm striving for, is to give as robust a picture as possible. Sometimes it means the reviews are really, really long, which some people like, some people don't, but whatever. So, that's how the house started. Unfortunately, it can be incredibly time consuming to do the really in-depth, thorough testing of every product that comes in and then write it up so robustly. So we've experimented with video. You know what I wonder? I'm going to click, if I can, without being too distracting, on my end. I'm going to click through. I just want to see how many videos we have, because I don't even know at this point exactly how many videos we have. So, but we're over 650 articles, and of course now I don't see it here. I'm in YouTube. I don't see how many it is, but it's
they actually make it really difficult to find sometimes.
There we go. 235 videos. So we're not a video site, but we've got over 200 videos, So
they can be effective sometimes. I always talk about like taking the wood off the top of an AK gas tube. Like I describe it like you're trying to throttle a motorcycle, but you can just show that in a video and click.
Yeah.
It's done.
One of our most popular videos is how to change the standard AR-15 military spec trigger group the easy way. And that's something that I could try to describe it to you right here. But watching this video where you see Jason, the FFO and armorer that worked with us a few years ago before he physically picked up and moved his family away, hopefully not to get away from me. I don't think. He didn't go that far, so I'm thinking it was just for work, like he said. But he moved out of the area. But that video is still up there, and it's something you can watch and you can see what he's doing. I could write about it, but it's not the same as watching him do it. So we have the videos for that. We have the videos for convenience. We haven't done anywhere near the volume that you produce the various different times that you've been to SHOT Show, for example, but we'll try to do. Last year we only had a few videos that came out of SHOT Show. I expect this year we'll probably have 10 or 15, which means we're going to be pretty selective about what we commit to do the videos on, and we'll get those up there. I hesitate just because of our format, where it is more in depth and it's more of a we don't really like to talk about stuff until we've really had it in our hands and used it a variety of different ways and give it a thorough workout. So we don't do as many of those booth videos, but let's see. So we have the written reviews, we have those videos. That's the main outlet for or the main types of content, and then the outlets that we distribute through would be, all the different social media platforms. And the one that we've been playing with the most as far as content generation is to reduce the overhead so we can get more content out more quickly. Because honestly, some of this stuff, it takes a couple extra months to get out to people who are interested and would love to watch the video or read the article or whatever. Just the time it takes to put all that stuff together really slows it down. So we've really been experimenting with live streaming. So I think that's something that if folks can figure out the right combination of camera, microphone, lighting, setting, and then get to the point where they can work through a complete review without missing things and do it live, where you can't go back and edit it, that's really hard. We've experimented with that some, and it takes a lot of practice to get really good at that. But I think that's kind of the next evolution for us is honing that so that we can get some content out more quickly. And then, other things, we're still going to do the full 9 yards with a longer written review or a much longer, higher production quality video. But yeah, that's kind of it. The whole site's built on a WordPress platform, just because it's kind of ubiquitous and it's not too difficult to get help. I'm not a programmer. A couple decades ago, I did a little work as a programmer, but I'm out of practice and don't really know all the things I need to be a WordPress programmer. So using kind of an off-the-shelf CMS has worked pretty well for us in that regard. Because that's kind of the hard part of starting something, is you end up wearing all the hats. So for me, I had to learn how to be a webmaster and a little bit of web developer and a videographer and a photographer and a writer and then an editor. And I've had to do a lot of teaching to get people up to speed on how to use all the tools and everything. So yeah, been interesting in that regard.
Right on. I appreciate the insight. Hopefully people will as well, and you can give us feedback to let us know if we're talking to the wind or if we're talking to a bunch of human beings out there. It looks like the counters tell us there's 18 humans out there. But no, I appreciate that insight, because I try to, again, encourage people and give them a little bit of motivation sometimes that this isn't rocket science. Every single day, everything gets easier. Every single day, there's more people on the internet, faster and, cheaper. So there's more audience. It's not like it's a pie that somebody else already took a big slice out of. They're baking new pies every day, and every minute there's new versions of stuff that gets easier. Wow. But even better, there's collaboration, right? We've got this ability to stand on each other's shoulders, and we were talking about SHOT Show earlier, and maybe a little bit in this one you had mentioned some things where, over the years of doing stuff, I think I mentioned just something easy, like don't stay in North Las Vegas, the town of North Las Vegas. It might seem appealing because the hotels are cheap, but you can't conceal carry there. So nobody has to actually waste the time and effort of staying in North Las Vegas and experiencing it to get, to understand that experience and to move on from it. So that's just, one example, but there's all kinds of things that, as again, this internet, this ability to be able to use the First Amendment the way it was, designed. It's a democratization of content. And communication. It's just awesome. So I really appreciate that you've given us that insight, that you're not necessarily, nobody's handing it to you. There's no blueprint. We're all figuring it out, but that's part of the fun and part of the challenge, but we're not alone. But you're not necessarily you didn't have to learn the ins and outs of every single aspect of this. Just like if you're going to go build a shed in your backyard, you don't have to figure out how concrete works and start buying the raw materials for concrete. You hire somebody to build a shed if you want to do it that way, or you have DIY shed. But there's all different ways to approach it, but you can get a shed in your backyard without having to do everything. So again, to get people motivated, hopefully they can see what you've succeeded with and what you've built over the years with some effort. And like you said, I appreciate your insight to the motivation too. Not everybody's 100% all the time. Nobody's getting rich on this. It would be kind of boring and we move on if we were just getting money in the mailbox from it, right? We'd go do something that actually interests us. This is interesting. It's fun to be part of this process. I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, but can we go back to that money in the mailbox? Because I'd like to learn more about that.
Well, there's all kinds. Here, let me. I got a couple of emails I can send you.
Yeah.
Clover, you've been driving. I don't know how your connection's been. Thanks for sticking with us. Did you? Were you? I'm assuming you're the same way, like I mentioned, trying to bite your tongue with all the topics we're talking about. Do you want to throw anything in while we're chatting?
No, I mean I've caught most of it. It was good stuff. I think the majority of that I probably already knew talking to Jeff, but yeah, it's interesting to hear that. I mean that's a very common theme story that a lot of us out here that have tried to pioneer our ways around social media, kind of went about it, right?
Well, some. I don't want to say a lot because I think a lot of people have figured out formulas. They figure out equations, and they just keep doing that. They figure out how to make a candlestick, and they're done. They're candlestick makers. I think we're trying to teach people how to, use the lathe, right?
Right.
And giving them a place to put their products so that if they're having fun making something on the lathe, that they're having fun creating something, pictures, blog, like say a little bit of video, and now things that your writers are doing, then giving them a place to put it too. So we on gun channels, we have a bunch of people that preaching the choir at some level. They understand what it's like to enjoy the creation and the interaction with the results of your creations, but yeah, just think it's neat all around. So again, I appreciate you jumping in. I'm gonna end it because at some point we all got to get to SHOT Show. I think hopefully this is the beginning of a couple of videos like this, and if people out there want to be part of the interactivity of it, leave us some comments in the video wherever you happen to see it, or if you see it as a podcast, wherever the comments are. I encourage you to always use those comments. There's a reason that people ask you to do that, and most of the time it's because they're looking for their videos to be more successful. The reason that is because underneath the internet, where all the tubes are that Al Gore made, there's robots that run around and they look at how often a video gets tickled or touched or poked or prodded or hearted or thumbed, and then they use those in their calculations when the next person comes along and says, I want to look at XYZ. So by participating in it, you're part of the success of good content, and there's lots of choices out there. Thanks to Gear Report, we've got places that are focused, that we have a place that we can find good content. But on the rest of the platforms, it's up to the audience to really help with that. You can put out the best content in the world, and it's just going to sit there if nobody watches it and nobody participates in it. So I keep driving that home. Hopefully people will consider that, maybe talk about it with others and let them know we're not just audiences anymore. And I don't need to end it on my stuff. Clover, thanks for jumping in. Drive safe. I'm sure we'll a bit off air. And Jeff, I'll let you wrap it up tonight. Again, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for building Gear Report. Thanks for sticking with it. And thanks for sharing it. A lot of people build stuff and are successful, and they kind of tight lips and act like there's only so much pie. I really appreciate you not only building something that is collaborative and you bring people in, but then you're willing to talk about it and share it and encourage others. So I'll shut up, let you end it up for us tonight.
Yeah, well, it was a great suggestion, I think, to have this discussion out in public, because we can talk behind the scenes all we want, and I love the pie analogy. That's kind of us hoarding the pie, I think. So I love the idea. Put it out there, and if people consume all this, more pie being made all the time. I love that. So for people, for anyone who's listening now or listens later, who thinks, what, I'm either creating content and I think I'd like to make it available. I think Gear Report might be a good platform to share it. I'd love to hear from you. Let's see if we have a good fit. I'm not at the point where I'm willing to just open up, say, anyone, but especially folks who are in it for the right reasons, who want to put out good quality content. Happy to talk about that. And you can send probably emails, the best way to do it. If we can do, we'll keep it simple, info@gearreport.com. GEAR-report.com, info@GearReport.com. Let me know what you're thinking of doing or what you'd like to do, and we'll see if we have a good fit and we can help each other, because that's what it's about right now, is seeing how many people I can help, and I have pretty firmly bought into this concept of, the way you get what you want is helping other people get what they want. So I'm doing my best to get out and help as many people as I can in that regard. So let me know, and I appreciate anyone who's hung out this long and is still listening. Thank you very much. Clover, I hope you have a safe trip the rest of the way there. I'll see you, I guess it's Saturday morning now, technically, at least for me on the East Coast. So that means that tomorrow I will be out there in Vegas with everyone. I'll see you guys face to face. So looking forward to that. I think that's a good ending place for me.
Sounds good. Thanks again for your time, and Clover, drive safe. We'll see everybody next Monday live at the show.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.